guys, today is October 22nd, and this is another video as part of a series from the helpraiseconsciousness.com blog site or the Help Raise Consciousness Facebook site, and we're talking about the moment of now. So pretty much the crazy times we're living in, the unusual times, and I've been wanting to kind of bring up this topic about how we change as a collective people. I think it's evident that we do need to change, and I've been kind of mentioning throughout these videos about one of the main things is our culture, and this is worldwide, but we'll just like focus on the United States, what I call man culture or male culture, or the male side of all of us. Because we all contribute to that. It has been a patriarchal society. And so that in some ways is very honorable for men, even though that this is not like about men and women. But when you think about patriarchal, there is a history of, men as kings, and in our country we've never even had a female president, so we can safely say that the balance has been tipped toward the male end of us as a culture, as a people. And so in the positive light of that, it's been pretty good as far as being able to build societies and have things run with some sense of order and some sense of prosperity. And the United States has been able to cultivate that. So it is not a failure where we're at now, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it is a patriarchal society. But where we're at right now, where we need things to change, what it really is we all, men and women alike, need to shift to now a more, let's go over on the spectrum. It doesn't have to be all the way to feminine, but it's moving into the middle, where it is not going to be about the male side of us, which is the aggressive side. It's the territorial side. It's the side, where we think that we need to have wars, and we think that we need to have power and control over each other, and it leads to violence. It's the side even that has created laws. I'm going to pause here for a second and get my charger. Okay, it's the side that has created laws and have made men judges of other men. And so all of that, for a while, I think there were components of that probably worked, but the ones that didn't have really come to light now. So as we're looking to change, one of the more important parts of this is how do we move into a more nurturing and cooperative coexistence with one another. So one of the things that we're doing is we're contributing to levels of destruction, whether that be with the need to, have nuclear arms races, or, have more weapons than anybody else, or, to have more guns in your home. These types of things that are very, embedded and ingrained in us, unfortunately, because we have been like that for so long. How do we shift that more into a neutral stance? Because the destruction is what we're trying to get away from. We need to build and rebuild communities and relationships right now, and do it in a way that is sustainable. And right now what's happening, and it's the natural disasters because of climate change, that's one thing, but it's also the social discord, because we need to move into a new way of thinking that actually does benefit everybody and can help us all sustain. And even just those two things combined, without all the other things that are going on, those are a pretty big deal, because either one of them could lead to the destruction of many people. And the world is overpopulated, so one could say it's in God's hands, or you just leave it up to Mother Nature, or and that's fine. But while we're here, because we all are right now, we don't need to be recreating the same kind of societal structure that causes suffering and discord, and in the end is bad for us. So how do we switch into the middle? And I really think one of the ways that we can do this that's not really that challenging is to look to the generation of people that are 30 years of age or younger, and some people in their 30s. However, the people who are teenagers and in their 20s now, they see a very liquid community as far as male female. So when we're talking about male culture and how do you move your mentality more into the middle, you don't have to go all the way to feminine, but even just into a more androgynous state, more middle way kind of state. That generation has completely been born into and embraced the idea that gender and sex is very fluid. And so I remember maybe 5, 6 years ago, Oregon was the first state to put male, female, and neither, or an X, I believe it was, or gender neutral, whatever it was, on the driver's license. And that news story went by like no one that I was connected to on social media really made a big deal about that. It was almost like what difference does that make? And that was interesting to me because that is a huge leap from what we as a culture have always been like. We have never been a culture that had neither or gender neutral on a driver's license. We have always been like, I identify as one or the other. Even if I'm gay, it's like if I'm a man, I'm a gay man who likes other men. And then, there's somebody like, who's a female who's like, I feel like a man. So I feel like a man and I like women, but not gay women. I like straight women because I'm a man. And in my growing up, in my generation, and the people older than me, we really didn't have like terminology for that. That was just considered like, okay, you're gay or whatever. And so now there's all kinds of different terms for all the different possibilities along the spectrum of gender and sexual preference and identification. And so that's how you move into the middle, is you start to pay attention to people who are younger and get away from the crotchety old man mentality. We can learn a lot from the young people. They are very concerned with the environment. They are very concerned with people coming into their schools with assault rifles. And they're trying to talk to the people who are older. I'm a Gen Xer, so like my age and older, to say, what the fuck are you guys doing? And then you have this crotchety old man, culture where it's like, your reaction to that these kids don't want assault rifles, like people, like other kids having access to that kind of weaponry that are going to come into the school and murder. The reaction to that by our crotchety old man culture is, well, no, I have my Second Amendment right, and I'm not going to let the government take my guns away from me. And it just doesn't meet up. It's basically like some mentality that we've had for so long that it's almost like we're on two different pages with the reality of the fact that, okay, you want to have a gun for hunting or self-defense, that's great. However, why is there a necessary need for you to be able to have access to assault rifles? It doesn't matter, like, we all have the right to carry, that's great. So it's not even a political thing, but it sounds very political. But I think people on both sides of the aisle, politically or in the middle or the independents, would say, like, everybody has rights. We shouldn't, at this point even be tagging, like, what kind of government can say what rights you have. You all have rights. So you have the right to bear arms. You also have the right to make a choice to collectively agree that weapons that are only meant for killing other people, weapons of war, we why would we want to have access to those in our community? We don't really need that. It's not necessary. And it doesn't mean we're giving up any rights. It just means that, we obviously have a hard time as parents controlling what is happening with kids and young adults who do have access to this kind of stuff and who, for some reason, something goes on in the brain and it's, who knows how that gets in there, but they can go into a school and just, pull the trigger and spread bullets around, like within seconds, kill, you know, over a dozen people. And so why can't we listen to the kids when they say, like, we need help, like, we're afraid of this? Why can't we listen to the kids when they're talking about the environment and they want a clean, pure environment to grow up in and to have their kids in? We don't want to listen to them because we would have to kind of like change some of the things that we do. However, we're all suffering together because we're not making the proper changes. We're resisting that, and because of that, we are, having climate change happen, and we're having severe storms happen. And so we have to think about the younger people in a way that is more compassionate, and that's part of how you move out of the extreme, like, I'm way over here on the man side of things, into the more nurturing side of things, that we have to nurture each other. We have to nurture our children. I think it's just at this point, like, extremely disappointing that we don't pay more attention to them, and that we still have the, like, meh, mentality that thinks that, what they're saying is ridiculous when what they're saying makes more sense than what we're currently doing. So we have to really tap into that innocence and the nurturing component. And so men can do this too within their families and within even, the positions that they may have of power, and women as well, because there are women that are very male in the way that they handle power. And so moving it all into a more nurturing and compassionate way of thinking. So you think about all of it as the young people, the kids, like, what is going to be the future? What do we need to change so that they can live in a world that is abundant, and they can thrive, and that everybody's going to prosper, and we can kind of get over the problems that are just ripping us all apart, and get over the division so that we can just cooperate and build beautiful societies. So that's one of the things that I think that we can do. So if we move into nurturing, and if we kind of pay attention to what some of the younger people are offering in their perceptions, we can kind of start to see how a man can be very nurturing within a leadership position. A man can be very nurturing within the home. And once it shifts to where everybody in the home is doing that, the mother, if there's grandparents, aunts, uncles, if everybody is functioning on a level where they're nurturing one another, caring for one another, working together to sustain, that will lead to the mentality spreading throughout the neighborhoods and the communities, the cities, the states. And it will lead to a more peaceful way of ebbing and flowing through life. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't have some of the same structure of governing. However, there are different ways to do it where it's not all about guns and tasers and handcuffs and arrests, and then you get into other issues of, like, what if it was just a false arrest and it led to somebody getting killed? There's so many different things that can happen when we go too aggressive, and that have happened when we go too aggressive, and that we allow too much power for somebody to have over somebody else. And so we know that humans are fallible, and so we do have to own it, and we have to bring our mentality also into a more nurturing sense. So whether you're a man or a woman, or you identify in all the different possible ways that you identify, or you just feel completely androgynous, it doesn't matter. What we're tapping into then is the sense of nurturing another person and ourselves. It's important for us to, really nurture ourselves. Often we're most critical of self and we judge self and we get disappointed in self. And so there is a point in time where, we have to embrace and nurture and take care of ourselves in a way that is not selfish, but in a way that is very loving. And then we have to spread that out to those that are right around us, our family, our friends, our coworkers, those in the community that we come in contact with. We have to do that when we go to the grocery store and the cashier is maybe not having a good day. And maybe her energy is, or his energy is just, maybe it's just kind of negative or hateful. And instead of us just kind of reacting and being snitty, it could just be a point at which we offer nurturing and just, we don't have to say anything out loud, but just like a, give them like an energetic love shot. Just think like, I am sending you love right now, or I am sending you positive energy right now, instead of us jumping when we're around something that's negative right into the same vibe. We have to keep a shield around us. And so just wanting to nurture and take care of it, because everybody has a bad day, right? So everybody can be grumpy, and we shouldn't take other people's grumpiness personally, and we have to kind of protect ourselves from going there as well, because then we'll just be the crotchety old man, and that's really what we have to get away from. So I hope this has made sense and helped a little bit. It's a complex topic because it's hard to just like cut through it. But it is kind of just all about moving toward a new reality and a new way of life that isn't really going to be that much different, but our way of thinking and being can be just a lot more positive and unified, and just lovey-dovey, So, all right, I'm out for today, but thanks for joining me, whoever does watch these. I just hope that you're getting something good out of it. I think I am too, so it's probably good for everybody. And remember, it's all about love.